case you wonder where I've gone, but leave you in the very capable hands of Mark, Fiona, and Hannah. We are going to hit record, so if you don't want to be on YouTube or TikTok, turn your cameras off. But no, yeah, I'll hand you over to Mark.
Cool, thanks, Steve.
Cheers, mate.
I don't particularly want to be on YouTube either, so I'm quickly going to share my screen, and that can go on instead. So yeah, morning everyone. We're talking new release because it's that time of year again. Obviously, it's the second one that we've got this year, which always falls around about this time. It's sort of, I'm going to cover two things really. There's a main part of the demo, which is one of the pieces of functionality that comes out. We've had a few customers ask recently about what the actual release preview looks like or what they need to do, if anything. Sort of small concerns about are things going to fall over. So I was going to touch on that a little bit as well and just sort of maybe calm some nerves and give people a bit of a heads up, especially those that aren't on NetSuite yet and aren't live with it. It's a bit of an idea of what to look forward to early next year, March, April time, when the first release of next year comes out, sort of things that you might want to be looking at doing. So hopefully you can all see my NetSuite screen there. I'm logged into a development account in here, so some of the things will be a little bit slower, so don't worry about that. And first things first, we've got our new release portlet. So those of you on NetSuite will have seen this quite a few times before. A couple of months before the new release comes out, this portlet magically jumps to life and starts listing out things that are going to happen. Loads of buttons across the bottom here. So there's links out to things like NetSuite's blog pages. One of the most important ones is the actual release notes themselves. So the release notes are going to document everything that's coming. NetSuite's lovely disclaimer on the top that says this is everything we're doing, but we might not do them. And you can see already this is on version 9. So you do have to take some things with a bit of pinch of salt, but the vast majority of these things will happen. It's very, very rare that something gets pulled last minute. If anything, there's normally additions to this list of stuff that they're actually going to put in. I think when I first looked at this, there was a lot less than 71 pages. So it's definitely grown since the last time I downloaded this document. So the release is going to happen whether you like it or not. It will happen to your account. You'll get notified by this portlet when it's going to happen. I'm in a dev account, so I haven't got that. But up in this corner here, it will tell you when the release is going to happen, and you'll know which release you're on. If you scroll to the very bottom of this page, it will tell you what release it's on. I'm on the newer version in this particular dev account, which is why I'm in here using it, so I can show you some of the functionality. But it will tell you when it's going to happen, time and date, and it's usually out of hours. It didn't used to be back in the days of less data centers, but now it's quite good because we've got localized data centers to most accounts. It's normally out of hours on like a Friday night or something like that. So what can you actually do to prepare for it? First one is actually read the release notes so you know what's going to change. A lot of things that will change, they're normally going to fall into three sort of brackets. You're going to get new functionality. You're going to get changes to existing functionality, which is the one that sort of scares people. And then you've got deprecation of older functionality. With any of them, you've normally got enough breathing room to make these decisions, test these things, and see what is going to happen. For example, if I look at an example of something that's getting deprecated, Suite Bundler, they are changing the way that new functionality is moved from development accounts and sandbox accounts into production. You can see we've got this nice big yellow banner across the top. It's going to be a while before bundles are no longer a thing, but well in advance, we've got banners everywhere saying this is going to be deprecated in a future release. An example I can think of in recent times with the full access role, that was, I think it was over the space of something like 18 months, so 3 releases, when they said, we're going to take this functionality away, and then everyone got a big yellow banner every time they logged into that account. Next release said, we're going to stop you adding new users. So they took away a little bit more, so everyone that still had it could still log in, but no new people. And then finally, sort of the final straw, it's like, right, it's no longer going to work. When you log in now, you're just not going to have that role. So they will glide into things a little bit. where they are going to be deprecating or taking away functionality. So keep an eye out for things like this. The other one's obviously new functionality. They're nice and easy. The main shockers with new functionality is things just change. And again, one of the most recent ones we had was changing to the navigation. This order management tab was a new feature a little while ago. If you've got people that have, you've got documentation internally that says follow this navigation to get to the page you want to live at, things like that can just change. So getting hands on a release preview account to preview some of these things can sort of calm people's nerves. If you've got documentation, you can update it with new screenshots, new navigations. You can make people aware well in advance of time. Yeah. And the final one is changes to existing functionality. And like I say, they're the most, they're the ones that sort of scare people the most, because you've got something that's going to change. It's possibly going to change your business process. The idea is that it changes for the better. We get some new functionality that we want to have, but it is going to have an impact. And that's actually the automated cash application thing that we're going to look at later. So we'll have a look at how that's cropped up and where that's linking into a little bit. I've mentioned release preview once or twice. There used to be a link in this box here. In fact, going back further than that, you used to just get one. You would log into your account, and where you've got your little sandbox links here, you'd log in one day and there'd be one with an R and a P next to it for your release preview, and that was you up and running, and off you went into your release preview account, test your heart's consent. They took that away a little while ago and made it so that it was by opt-in. So they didn't just supply with one anymore. They asked you if you wanted one. And there used to be a link to it in here. They've now got rid of the link in here as well and buried it away in the bowels of the setup. In fact, let me show you where it does live. Setup company, and near the bottom we have this release preview bar. So it works very similar to a sandbox request, where if you go into a page, I'm in a development account, so if I click this it won't load because you're not allowed to have release previews on dev accounts, but it opens a page that's very similar to the sandbox refresh page, where it will take a snapshot of your account, but the snapshot it takes, so it will take all of your data and everything across, but it will be a version of NetSuite that's been upgraded to the new release, so you can just go ahead and test any business processes you need to. And it's a very, very good idea to do so. So back before I was a consultant, obviously I'd said earlier, I used to work for an end user, and one of my biggest headaches was release sort of time, regression testing and all that sort of things. What do I test? What do I leave alone? What do I need to do? And the first few, it is a very sort of nerve-wracking time. You sort of think, oh my God, there's this sometimes 100 pages worth of release notes. I've got to scan through, read through everything, see what's going to change. I used to check every single business process, regardless of department, anything that I had access to, which as admin was actually a lot. I'd just literally go through every single thing, and it was really time consuming. And after a while, I sort of thought, why am I testing absolutely everything? And it sort of built up over time that actually I don't need to test everything, because not everything is going to change. It's more about understanding what could impact those changes. And again, this goes back to this changes to existing, because that's mostly where we're going to get these issues creeping in. So you can sort of get yourself a little bit of a pointer. There is a page in here, customization, scripting, scripted records. These are the record types in your account and the number of scripts and workflows that are running on them. So what I've found is most of the time, if anything is going to be impacted by a change, it's going to be something that you've had customized in your account to do something specific for your business. NetSuite's very good, as we talked about, with like the deprecation flow of supporting its own core functionality. It's very rare that they'll push a new release out and something standard NetSuite's going to fall over. So this is a good place to come and sort of go, okay, where have I got a lot of things going on? Where do I need to actually focus my efforts on for testing? So if I let's pick something nice like a sales order. It's probably got a fair few on. 8, that's fine. Go and have a look, and this will tell me all the scripts that run on that page, who made them. Same again, we've got different types of scripts. You've got your workflows, and you can just sort of pop out and go, okay, this workflow was something I built years and years ago. What does it do? You can have a click through and go, okay, let's just test that this still works. Run that test in your dev account. Once it works and you're happy, you can tick it off your regression testing list and move on and get a bit of confidence that nothing's going to go down. Again, although I've said NetSuite covers itself from all of its standard core functionality, scripts and workflows underneath the bonnet actually use standard NetSuite functionality. Scripts use NetSuite's functions, so there's a big function list, and basically it's going to be calling those things. So again, even within there, this is an area that you should probably focus your testing on rather than absolutely everything. But the vast majority of the time, you're actually going to be fine and nothing's going to go awry. Again, any changes to suite script and things, they scream and shout well in advance of time. Talked a lot about previous examples here. The latest one I can think of is things like deprecation to older security functionality and scripting, the move from SHA 1 to 2. They were screaming and shouting about that for a couple of releases, and actually the main reason they pushed it was a security thing. It was going out of fashion, so that's gone happened a little bit faster, but you still had a lot of time to get your scripts checked out and change anything over. So the long and short, get yourself a release preview and test. Be clever about what you test, especially if you're at the point now where you're going through an implementation. If you know that you're building something particularly large and custom for your business, that's a good place to be regression testing. But overall, it's going to be fine. NetSuite's very good at hand-holding you through the process, warning you well in advance, 2-3 releases in a lot of cases. So yeah, it's functionality. You're paying for it in your license. So yeah, take it, enjoy it, and attend these things so you can find out a little bit more about what's going to come into it, which is what I'll move into now. The actual release notes themselves. Yeah.
Mark, can I ask a question here?
Go ahead,
yeah. About releases, in respect to this new release, will everyone see this?
Will everyone see this as in the same time?
Well, no, what I'm saying is here is like, for example, would only an administrator see it, or would you have someone who's like an AP clerk or whatever? Would this display?
Okay, it depends on the dashboard. So an administrator's dashboard has that new release portlet in there.
Good.
You can come in here, personalized dashboard, and it is one of these. It probably won't be up there because it's in here already. It is something that you can drag in. Now, for the vast majority of the year, it's a very boring portlet because it has nothing in it. It says, we're working on the new release. And it literally, a couple of months before is when it springs into life. So it's a good thing to have sat in an admin's dashboard. It's also just handy to know when the release windows are. There's one earlier in the year. There's one about now. So it's about March, April time, September, October time. So you'll see them jump to life. March, Augusty, they'll sort of jump into life and you'll start seeing things about them. So you don't have to have them in there all the time, but keeping an eye out for them around about those times would be a good thing to do. And yeah, anybody who's got this release portlet in their dashboard.
Good. Okay. Now, also you said about the updates, and you said about it's normally done out of hours Friday night. For example, is that standard? And when you say out of hours Friday night, roughly when?
Yeah, so there is brains racing now because I'm thinking about something I'm about to show you as well, which is going to tie into this. So there is a number of release windows, so they don't just sort of go bang, everyone's now over. It sort of splits into 3 releases a couple of weeks apart. So they'll send one tranche of customers over, and then they'll migrate another one, and then they'll migrate another one. So although I've said it's around about this time of year, some people, I don't think anyone's on it yet, but they'll start soon, late September, and it sort of goes all the way through to early November when all of the releases will be done. Generally, it's something like 10, 11 p.m. local time. So it gives enough people to get a chance to sort of get finished, get logged off. The big caveat to that is if you're running a NetSuite website, which I used to have when I was an end user, and that was a pain in the backside because regardless of what you're doing, the internet's 24/7. So downtime is downtime, and we had to plan that in to promotional activity and things like that. Similarly with NetSuite, it doesn't have to be a website. You might have customer center access or vendor center access. It's all NetSuite login access. That all goes down at the same time. You do get warnings as well. So administrative notifications. And is this going to show me this in a dev account? Maybe,
And
maybe not.
normally, and I know it's going to be like, how long is a piece of string, but how long normally is it down for?
A couple of hours, 2-3 hours. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you see
All
here, here's an example of some of them. So, and you'll get these as well. Administrators that log in will be notified advance when it's going down. So if you see here, scheduled maintenance on, and we're in a dev account. So what we've got here, there's an hour of maintenance. But you'll get one of these for your new release as well. But you'll also have it sat in your dashboard if you've got the release portal there. But yeah, it's normally a couple of hours, quite late at night.
Right. Cool.
Anything else you've got for me there? Cool. On that note, then I'll quickly go into this nice segue of, in the new release, we have greater flexibility of customer scheduled maintenance. So what we used to have was, like it or lump it, it's going to happen now. And you just had to react. Whenever I got these pop-ups, I'd be like, oh, brilliant, the website's going down. Everyone's going to have a hissy fit. They could take them down 9-10 p.m. and that just happened to be the exact peak of sample orders through the website. And I used to have to ring the marketing guys, be like, hi, you need to stop all your Google spend for this period today because NetSuite's going to go down. There's no point driving traffic to them. They're just going to get a maintenance page. And they get a bit annoyed about it, but ultimately there was nothing we could do until there was something we could do, which was give NetSuite lots and lots and lots of money to be upgraded to a premium tier server. And when you're on a premium tier server, they say, you're going to be upgraded this week. And we go, that's peak season. October, November happened to be peak season for this business. And it would generally fall like late October, early November, just as we're ramping up for like the biggest month of the year. You've got Black Friday and all that sort of stuff. So we got that premium tier server because it was worthwhile to that business to say, no, we don't want it then, move our release window. And we would always opt for the earliest release window possible, so late September, to minimize the impact. What we're now getting is the ability to tell NetSuite, please don't take my website down. Please don't take my account down. I am very busy at that time. Do it somewhere else. So we've got this sort of way of telling NetSuite, okay, I've got this thing, it's going to happen here, you can't do it, and it will give you an option to reschedule it, and you'll have a list of scheduled dates when they're doing those particular actions, and if one falls in a particularly bad area and you can see a good one, you can fire it over with a justification to NetSuite as to why, and you can track that through this page, setup customer schedule maintenance. It's a new page that's coming, and you can reschedule it up to 72 hours prior. So there is a limit to when they're going to be juggling people around because they have got to settle down at some point and get it done. But if they accept your request, you'll get notified again by those administrative notifications when you log in that you've just been rescheduled. So this is great. I think at the beginning, it's only going to be a certain set of maintenances that they can move. Here we go. Move to Oracle Cloud Data Centers, which most people will have gone through that migration now already. Routine maintenance and database upgrades. So one that's obviously missing is the actual version upgrades, but it's already written in the release notes that that's coming in future functionality. They're getting it bedded in first, and then they're going to be rolling that out because that one is a much bigger undertaking for them. So that would have saved me so much hassle like 5-6 years ago. Finally, it's coming to us. As with everything NetSuite, it's coming to us light, getting bedded in, and then it's going to be ramped up in the future. That was a nice little segue from your question there onto that one. The other things, has anyone, I'm sure the answer is yes, but you've all read my blog, of course. Yes, yeah, of course. Everyone's nodding and yeah. So obviously we write this release blog every time something comes out. It's either me, one of the other consultants. We pull out bits and pieces of functionality. I usually, when I do it, go looking for sort of bits of hidden functionality. Everyone logs into NetSuite and sees this front dashboard and it tells you all about the big hitters. I try and sort of dig down beneath that and try and pull some other things out to try and surface a lot of other info. This particular release is a bit more of a quiet one, I've found. So the thing I'm going to show you today is actually one of these big screaming and shouting new bits of functionality. There is some minor releases there, but there is a lot of enhancements to existing functionality in this one, where there's things that they've released in 21.1 and late last year 20.2 that are seeing improvements, because we have had a bit of a tranche of new functionality. I think what we're seeing at the moment is just a little bit of a slowdown on new things and more improvements to existing things, which is a great problem to have. Brilliant, they're making the product better. Makes it difficult for me to write a blog and be all excited about it, because you haven't got the prior knowledge. It's sort of difficult to bring that across. So on that note, we'll jump into the demo and what I'm going to show you today, and that is the automated cache application functionality. So this is a bit of a weird one, as it crosses two bridges. It's a new piece of functionality. It's also a change to an existing functionality. And it's a good example of what I was saying earlier, where NetSuite will slot things in and there's no need to worry, because things just work and it just adds in, and we'll see where it just falls in nicely in a second. So what I have done is created myself a handful of customers here, stuck some transactions on them just so I've got a bit of a test data set to work with, and we'll come back and look at these in a second. But let's have a look where the problem is and what this functionality solves for us. So what we had, my brain is failing, but I think 2 releases ago, was the introduction of the match bank data page, which was itself the culmination of the deprecation of the reconcile bank account page. Have I called that the right thing? Reconcile bank statement page. So you used to have these pages, which still live in here, but they are now fully deprecated, and it wouldn't shock me if they disappear soon. And it's moved over to this match bank data page, which does a mix of everything essentially. So by this point, I'm sure everybody will be over to this place using this page. We choose our account and we do our reconciliation. We get our imported data here, and we've got our NetSuite transactions over this side. So the problem that this attacks is, what if I get all of my bank data in and I haven't got the transactions in NetSuite yet? Somebody either hasn't put them on, or someone's just really behind. I need to get the rec done. I've got these transactions. I've got nothing. I've got these transactions on my bank account. I've got nothing in NetSuite to match them against. So what you're then going to have to do is start keying in transactions in NetSuite, or importing them. Importing them is doable. It's a supported thing. It can be a bit tricky when you're trying to import it and apply things at the same time. But what the automated cache application function does, and here's where it's become ingrained in the new page. This won't be here in your accounts currently. This is where it just slots in nicely. Ties into this functionality and enhances it. So it will take payments that you've imported, and it will try and match them against transactions in the account that it thinks they're related to. So currently this is only going to run for customer payments as of this release. So it will be looking, as we'll see in a second, for invoices that it can apply those payments to, and it will go away and crunch that data for you, give you the matches, and it will go away and write those transactions for you and reconcile them. So let's have a look at it in action. I've got nothing imported yet, but as I said earlier, I have got some data prepped. So I'll quickly fire a bank import in, and it'll be my test file into my GBP bank account. Excellent, straight through. Almost like I've been practicing it every day this week. There we go. So we've imported my bank file. I actually have it here, so we can have a quick look at it. We've got a bit of a mix of things in here. So I've tried to cover different scenarios and the different types of matches that we can expect it to handle for us. First thing I've put in here is some credits. which I know it won't currently do because it currently only does customer payments. We can still have them in our file. It will still just work nicely with anything you throw into it, but it'll only currently run as this release on customer payments. And what I've got over here is I've got a memo field, which you would see in your bank import file with some data in it. And that's obviously just quite random data. We'll have a little look at what we're going to do with that in a second. I've got some internal IDs of customers, which are my 3 test customers that I had earlier, 1, 5, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5, and 6 I actually have. I've got a customer's name as it's named in NetSuite, and I've got an invoice number. So these 3 columns appear in your bank import file. A lot of the times people will import them and they'll just be completely blank. You'll normally have a memo field because it's quite rare that you're going to be able to pull something from your bank down into a CSV that's going to have your NetSuite customer's internal ID in it or their exact formatted name. But I've put these in just to show the functionality, because if you can get them in, brilliant. But I think this is where a lot of people will be reliant on this matching functionality, and it looks like NetSuite put a lot of thought into this piece, and we'll see that in a second. So I've got some that I know are going to match. I've got some that I know are not going to match, just to sort of show us this functionality. So we're on the match bank data page. We've got our account in. We can see our imported transactions, and I know full well very little of these / none of these are actually going to be in this list. So I'm not going to be able to reconcile them. What I can now do is pop out to my automated cash application page. It will very quickly run, and it's taken all of my imported transactions over here, and it has matched them where it can to a related customer and record within NetSuite. So we can see here, we've got absolutely nothing. We're going to have to do something with that, or we could just leave it. Here, we've got a match to a customer record. So this was 99.99, which was this one here. So an internal ID. So it's found the internal ID of that customer and returned it and matched it automatically. £12 one there should be to me, which it exactly is, because I've got an exact match onto a customer. So it's looking for those bits of data and doing the matches. What it then does is, okay, I've got this amount for you. Have I got a specific invoice in your file that I can match to? Have I got a number of invoices that are currently unpaid? So let's go and have a look what it pulls out for me. So here we can see we've got £1,222.33, and we've got 2 invoices that we can possibly match to. Different amounts, but it's split the amounts out for us. It's fully paid off the remaining amount on this invoice for me, and then it's applied the outstanding over here. If I didn't want it to do that and I wanted to do something a little bit different, let's say I only actually want to put 8 on there and stick the other 100 on there, I can freely move the money around and apply it as I want to. And you may have seen there, as I was sort of typing, if I do click out, it will tell me what's currently unapplied from that payment. So I could have an overpayment, which again would be fine. But I can move the values around as I see fit. Where you have absolutely no matches whatsoever, you can pick a customer if you know who it's supposed to be linked to. We will have a look at that in a second. Once it comes in, it's going to have a quick run, go and look for any invoices, find them and return them. And again, do the same thing. So even if we fire customers in, it's quite slick. It's running straight away and going, okay, where can I apply these to? We haven't got any payments. Where do you want me to make payments? If the customer had no invoices, you can match it to a customer, still submit this page, and it will just submit an unapplied payment for you. Let's look at this memo one. So we did see a bit of a pop-up there when I did it, but here's one I made earlier. I've got this memo field, and maybe I've told this customer to always send me payments with this memo on them so that I can match them. I can identify who they are. So I have done what I did there, basically. I saw this September CRT coming in, and I've picked this customer, and I've submitted it previously. And now the system knows that when I get a memo with September CRT in it, it relates to this customer. How does it know that? Well, when I picked a customer before, you'll see here, this is a poor example because it has blank memo, but it's saying, okay, you've made this match on this scenario. Based on the information I have, I'm going to try and learn what you want me to do with this. So it's going to say here, or if it's completely blank, I'm going to make a relationship between absolutely no information and this customer, which is a bad one to do. So I'm not going to make a rule in this scenario. What I did here was, when it says September CRT, make that rule. And that's where this comes in. So here, it will list out all of the rules that I tell it to learn. So at the very get-go, you're going to have lots and lots of blanks. But once you get into the habit of going, okay, I always get this memo on this payment. It might be like an email address. It might be a company name. It might be a website. It can pick up and look at the memo and make an association to a customer. And it remembers that functionality for every file that you then import after the initial one. So it will actively learn as it goes on. If you don't want them to be doing it every time, you can leave the rules in here and just say, okay, don't run on this scenario. If you've got rules that you've accidentally made, we can delete them and get shot of them. But it's going to build up that list of rules, that list of functionality, and actively try and apply it to get the best possible matches that it can get as it goes past this page. Similar to a lot of the pages in NetSuite, we can mark all, we can unmark all, or we can pick individual ones we want to do. I am going to pick a small one because I have a dev account, which is going to be a little bit slower. So I'm just going to pick on that one, and I'm going to hit submit and let the page go off and do what it's going to do. It's telling me, obviously, it's going to go and do one thing because I've ticked one line, and it's going to exclude the other 14, and 4 have missing details. We can see that because we've got the little warning marks everywhere. Ideally, you're going to be obviously selecting as many as you can to get this to go and match and do its functionality. Because it's a demo, I'll let it go fire away with its one record. So as with everything in NetSuite, we get a nice familiar looking processing page. Those of you that have done CSV imports or bulk fulfill orders, very familiar with these sorts of pages. You don't have to sit here clicking refresh. I'm just doing it because of time. It's going to do its thing and eventually it will finish. It's going to be really helpful and do it really slowly because it's in a dev account, and it's going to make me just keep talking because I've got nothing to fill this gap while it does this. Thank you, NetSuite. Excellent. It's completed. It's written a payment for me. Based on what I've selected on that previous page, it will do what it needs to do with that payment. I've told it to apply to invoices, so it has written the payment. It has applied them to those invoices with the split that I defined on there. If I didn't define any, it would write me an unapplied payment. Because it's gone and done this payment, and because I've linked it to the invoices in here, what it's also done is mark this as reconciled. So when I go back to the match bank data page, I don't then have to go through the matching process and match these off. Because I've come through automated cash application, it's written the transaction for me, matched it, reconciled it, saved me a ton of time. So if I jump back to that page now, we will have less data in there by one line because I've only matched one, but one line less nonetheless. So nice bit of functionality, new functionality that slid in nicely into existing functionality with no impacts. So it's a great thing. It's also available in its own navigation as well. So you don't have to come through this page to go and do it. You can just go straight to that page, fire your accounts in and look at things that you've got imported that aren't currently reconciled. So you can just be running in the background. You can have somebody do this first, and then you can sort of keep it clean on the match bank data page, or you can do it as an addition to there by just firing off on the page. That is everything I have for you today in terms of demo. Has anyone got any other questions they would like to ask or cover about anything that I've shown you today or anything in the new release notes?
I have a quick question, Mark, about the automated cache thing.
Yeah.
I saw there's a column that have the invoices. What happens if the account has, let's say, like 60 open invoices? Will it list all of them one after the other there?
There is a bit of a limit, so it goes as far as it can, but when you expand the list, and I don't think I've got a good example here now, when you blow this list out, you essentially just have a very long scrolling list of all of the invoices. So it might not list them all in this invoice matches section, but when
But it
you
will show them in
here,
the drop down.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good then.
And yeah, as far as I've seen so far, it doesn't paginate. It just makes the page longer. So if you have got lots and lots, you just hope your mouse has got a scroll wheel. But yeah, I think I cleared out some of the test data from previous. This isn't my dev account, but there was some particularly big ones in there, and I was scrolling all over the show. But yeah, not there, but definitely in here.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Mark, it's Theo from ECC Aviation.
Hi.
I've went through the release notes myself also, and can I please ask if I can have any more detail regarding the payment links in the new sandbox environment?
Whereabouts in the release notes was it?
I can send you in the chat also. So you're introducing basically a new payment link, so customers can pay online.
Oh, yes, I know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It's incorporating the sending of a payment direct to an invoice, isn't it?
Yes, correct.
I have not actually seen that functionally working yet. So other than what's in those release notes, I probably can't give you a massive amount of extra info.
Okay.
Is there anything in particular you want me to find out for you? Because I can look afterwards and send you any info over. Was there a particular question you had about it, or?
Yes, Mark, only regarding about the sandbox environment. Is it through Suite, basically the sandbox environment, and how it's going to look like? That's about it.
Okay, I will find out something for you and send you something over.
Perfect.
But there's nothing I can pull out right now for you. Yeah,
no
sorry
problem.
about that, but I'll get you something.
No, don't you worry. No problem at all.
Any more from anybody else?
Oh, all gone quiet there.
I think that might be about it then, Fiona.
Okie dokie. That was a really good demo, Mark. Thank you. That was, I hope everyone took something away from that. There is still time. We're booked until 12, but we're not going to keep you if there's nothing else to cover. If anyone has any questions, it doesn't have to be new release related. If you've got anything you want to pick Mark's brains while he's here, we love putting him on the spot.
I just have a quick question about Mark. Where was the new functionality? Because I think our account's already updated to the 21.2.
Okay, it's in transactions, bank, automated cash application, if you're in a role that has the classic center.
Oh, I am. I have access to everything, which is probably not a good idea.
You can also get through it from transactions, bank, match bank data, and it appears as a link on the top right hand side of the page.
Okay, yeah, we actually do have it, so we are definitely updated.
How exciting.
There you go. You can play today.
I definitely will not be doing that, but I will forward it to our financial director so she can have a look at it.
Good thinking. Good stuff. Right. Well, if there's no other questions for Mark or for myself and Hannah, then we'll wrap up there. Thank you so much for your time. As you probably noticed, Steve had to drop out a little bit earlier today. We really appreciate you joining us for the Customer Roundtable. The session has been recorded, so I'm going to download that and make sure I get that round to everybody next week. Obviously, feel free to pass it on to your colleagues if you think it'd be useful, and we'll be looking to schedule the next Customer Roundtable in November. So look out for the invitation for that. If you've got any suggestions for topics that you want to cover, we've got some ideas up our sleeve, but obviously it's it's for our customers, it's for you guys. So if there's anything that you'd like us to investigate over the coming months, obviously going into the new year, then please just drop me an email and we'll stick it on the list. So thanks again for your time. Really appreciate you coming along, and we'll see you soon. Have a great weekend.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Mike.
Right.
Bye.
Bye.